Welcome to the Valareso Capital community, where we discuss the stock market and trading strategies to become a consistently profitable trader and investor. Hey guys, welcome back to Valareso Capital. On today's video, we're going to go through the weekly watch list and we're also going to take a look at the market update. It was a pretty intense week. We were talking about the possibility of seeing the SPX going to 4,400. We fall short to that target for just a couple of points. So we're going to review that and then we're going to start talking about what is the possible roadmap going into next week. I think that is very important to understand the levels of the SPX, because once you understand the levels of the SPX, trading the market is, I wouldn't use the word predictable, but I think that you can make a better assessment and have high probability thesis that could actually be very profitable going into next week and going into all the weeks that you make this analysis. So I really encourage you guys to start taking a look at the SPX. The levels on the SPX are very, very powerful. And once you understand what levels have a high probability of acting as support or resistance, then you can start looking at setups. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. We're going to start with the SPX and then I'm going to show you some setups that I already have positions on. And then of course, we're probably going to take a look at the IWM, because I think it's a very important sector, a very important index right now, because a lot of people are talking about this. And then we're also going to take a look at the VIX, and then we're going to create a nice roadmap going into next week. Remember guys that this video is for informational purposes only, is based just on my personal opinion and is not financial advice. And if at any point of this video guys you find any value, remember to like and remember to subscribe to the channel. That way you can get this information as soon as it is available. So let's just jump here into the charts. Let me make myself a little bit smaller here. And let's just start here with the SPX. So the action on the SPX, right? Remember that we were talking about this possible target of 4,400. We were talking about this target because we actually had a gap, an open gap. And of course, you can see right here that we also have the decline in 50-day daily moving average. So it was actually a rise, a really nice confluence zone. So it was actually a pretty nice target. However, we actually came into this level right here. We actually got a high, I think it was of 4,385. Yep, 4,385. So we missed those 15 points for the original target. Now, what is going to be the level that I'm going to be watching for next week? The level that I'm going to be watching for next week is going to be this big level of 4,300. Remember guys that we were talking about these psychological levels, and they're very, very important in the SPX. We tend to see 4,350, 4,300, 4,250, 4,200, and you can get the picture. Now, I also have some really nice levels here besides just 4,300. The first level right here, you can see that I have a Fibonacci zone. The Fibonacci zone is going to be the 050 to 0618 Fibonacci retracement, meaning that we're looking for a retracement going to 50% or to 61.8%. So that's going to be this zone right here. So you can see that we have that confluence with the 4,300. And besides that, I have one of my favorite levels, which is the anchor VWAPs. You can see that we have the anchor VWAP from this swing high right here, and we have the anchor VWAP from the low that we made in the past couple of weeks. So now we have a nice level of high probability support, and we have to remember that we're talking about probabilities. So there is the probability that this level won't hold, but given that we have so many levels of support, we can make the assessment that we're going to find a lot of different type of buyers. We're going to have Fibonacci buyers. We're going to have level buyers, those who are looking at 4,300, and then we're going to have anchor VWAP buyers. So when we have this, we are able to develop this high probability thesis of something holding. So I'm actually looking for this level to hold. So that's going to be the first piece of the roadmap. And after that level holds, then perhaps we're going to be able to make the test of the 4,400 level. So that's going to be the roadmap for next week. And then, of course, you can take a look at my indicators, right? The backup trend indicator, which is basically a MACD histogram. You can see that the MACD histogram is above zero. So usually the setup with that indicator is that as soon as you get that pop above the midline, above the zero line, then any pullbacks tend to have a lot of fuel, meaning that we have that energy to make that bounce. So we're keeping things really, really simple. And then of course, in the backup trend oscillator, you can see right here that we're also above that 50 line. So we tend to see, we can make the assessment that we also have, besides price, we also have momentum on the bullish side. So it's gonna be the main thing to understand. I think that if you just have one chart to make this assessment next week, use the SPX. We have a very, very clean analysis here. Then remember, guys, that I wanted to jump into the IWM. So let's do that right here. And I'm starting to think that the IWM is trying to bottom right here. Why am I making that assessment? First of all, we have a huge level of support here. And what I have found is that it's easier to make the assumption that a level is going to hold than a level is going to break. We need a lot of power to break a level. We have to understand that. A lot of people think that when we have a breakout, it just happens because it happens, but we need actually a lot of power to make a level break. So I'm going to make the assumption that we have a very high probability level of support here, and then I'm starting to see a lot of divergences, right? A lot of divergences in my momentum indicators with the price right here. You can see that the price continued to fall, and we are already making higher lows on my momentum indicators, which make me think that the IWM is trying to bottom right here at this gap level that we have at 170. So if you're looking for confirmation here, it's going to be pretty easy. You see these anchor VWAPs? We have the anchor VWAP from the low, and we have the anchor VWAP from this swing high. If we have a daily close above those anchor VWAPs, I have seen this setup many times, many times. Then the probability of us coming back into a new resistance level is pretty high. So look for a daily close above these anchor VWAPs. If we get it, then the probabilities favor a test of this give it 180 level in the IWM. So take a look for that chart. And then I remember that we were talking about the VIX. So let's take a quick look at the VIX here. And when we have the VIX, I actually look at the VXX for looking more of a trending type indicator for the volatility. But when I'm looking at the VIX, I tend to think about the VIX in ranges. So we have a pretty big range here, which is between 1250 or 13 going all the way to 20. My assumption is that 20 is resistance. If we break above 20, it's because something very big happened. If not, I'm gonna make the assumption that resistance is going to hold. So right now, the VIX is at 20. So I'm going to make the assumption that it is going to hold. If we break it, then it happens. But for now, I'm just going to make the assumption that 20 is going to hold. And inside this range, we have another range. And that range is going to be between 20 and between 15. You can see right here that we came all the way to 15 and now we're at 20. Now my question is, if we fail at 20, then we're probably going to come back to 15. And then we probably will continue to oscillate here until we break down. And then most likely the new level is going to be 15 and 13. So just think it about that way. You can actually time your buys with a lot of accuracy, understanding that the VIX trades in ranges. So that's something that I want to show you in the VIX. Let me just add it here to the list of the things that I'm going to be watching for next week. That way I can also keep a look at those levels in the VIX. Now, let's jump into the weekly watch list, right? So let me show you the most important setups that I'm going to be watching for next week. I already have positions on SMCI, QQQ, SMH, EMPH, and SNOW. I already have positions here, and then the big one that I'm going to be looking for next week is going to be NVDA. So you can take a screenshot of this watch list. This is going to be my watch list for next week, and now I'm going to go through the setups. So let me start right here with Super Microcomputer. I actually like this setup a lot. This is going to be my favorite setup for next week, and the thesis is pretty simple. You can see right here that we had this pop above this 300 level. We actually tested 320. This is something that we have been talking in my Twitter community, and you can find the post that I was making about super microcomputers. I didn't trade this one, but right now we're having one of my most favorite setups, and that setup is a pullback to the 21 exponential moving average wave with an anchor VWAP. We have the anchor VWAP from the low, and then you can see that we have support on one of my indicators, and then of course we have that fuel from the momentum in the histogram of the MACD. So usually when I have this combination, we tend to see a continuation to the upside. Then of course I'm going to be looking for the next Fibonacci levels. This is just a Fibonacci zone measure from this high to this high, and then eventually I do think that super microcomputers is heading to retest those highs at 350, but of course these are going to be the targets. That's going to be super microcomputers. Then I really like the Qs here, and the way that I'm executing the Qs is going to be with the TQQQ, but I always make my analysis on the main ETF. It's just way easier to do it that way, and you can see that the setup is the same. We have this pop above the 21 EMA wave, and now we're having a retest. This is what Oliver Kell refers as an EMA crossback, and of course a lot of people have different types of EMA crossbacks. Some people use the 10 EMA, some people use the 8 EMA. I use the 21 exponential moving average wave. So this is my version of a crossback. So you have the extension, and now you have the crossback. We have the pullback, indicator at support, and then we have that fuel on the MACD histogram, meaning that there is a high probability that we're just going to make a continuation to new highs from this swing, of course. And then that target is going to be somewhere around 380. That's going to be the Qs. And then of course you can see right here that I have the labels for the levels that I actually make my purchase for the positions. And then the next one is going to be the SMH. It's going to be the same setup. We have the pop above the wave. Now we're having the EMA crossback. We have everything at support. We have momentum on our side, and it's going to be the same setup. And I'm going to be looking for this to hold the wave, to hold above this level right here, right? So actually pretty simple. I'm trading this with the SOXL, which is the leverage 3 ATF for the SMH. And then if we take a look at the next setups, they're pretty similar, right? EMPH, a little bit more of a bottoming peak, right? But I really like the idea that this is starting to bottom. Now, one of the reasons, of course, is that if you have been following the channel for a while, you know that I love the 21 exponential moving average wave. And as soon as we make a pop above the wave or below the wave, then I usually start to look for changes in trend, right? And that's exactly what is happening on AMPH. We have a squeeze, we have positive momentum, we have my indicator also on the positive side. And then of course, I'm just looking for a continuation higher of EMPH. Of course, we have to understand that we have this big level of the earnings anchor VWAP as resistance. So always important to manage a risk. So I'm going to be looking for higher prices on EMPH. And then finally SNO. Same thing in SNO. You can see right here that we have the pop above the wave. We have the retest of the 21 exponential moving average wave, and basically just the same setup over and over again. Then I'm going to be looking for a retest of these highs right here. And then finally, the only one that I don't have a position on from the ones that I have shown you is going to be NVIDIA. And this one is the same setup, right? You can literally do a copy and paste of all the setups that I'm watching, and you're going to be surprised because it's the same setup. We have the pop above the wave, we have the retest of the wave, and my indicators are basically the same, right? Positive here, and then I'm just looking for a continuation higher. This is going to be the first target, but I do think that eventually NVIDIA is going to retest that 500 level. So things are looking pretty nice, guys. I do think that I mentioned a couple of bearish setups with you. We did have some really nice bearish setups on the community. If you want to join the community, I'm going to have a link down below. You're going to be able to find me. It's going to be the Prime Trading community. You can use my code to enter the community. And we actually have a couple of really good setups. You can see block right here, which is SQ. And you can see right here that this is the same setup, but on reverse. You can see that we have the pop to the 21 EMA wave. And then, of course, we have that continuation to the downside. You can see that we had resistance at my indicator. The MACD is positive. That's why sometimes when you have that inverse relationship with the MACD, you don't tend to make new lows, but you can most of the time make that retest of that 0618 to 50% retracement, and it's going to be the same on W day, which is work day. We had that pop to the wave, and then we have the rejection. Pretty easy trades, nothing crazy, but these are trades that you can make on a consistent basis, and you can repeat the process, because that's the most important about trade. The most important thing about trading is that you have a repeatable process, because in repetition is where you make the money. And you want to make the money because you want to transform this into an income stream, right? Very, very important to understand that. And that's the way I trade, guys. So once again, guys, if you found some value on this video, make sure to subscribe. That way you can get all the information as soon as it is available. Once again, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I will see you on future videos. Take care and bye bye. Have an amazing weekend.